Mantras of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says it is possible to turn life into an act of adoration to the Supreme by the Spirit in one's works. For, says the Gita, he who gives to me with a heart of adoration a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or a cup of water, I take and enjoy that offering of his devotion. And it is not only any dedicated external gift that can be so offered with love and devotion, but all our thoughts, all our feelings and sensations, all our outward activities and their forms and object can be such gifts to the eternal. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord, Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 4, The Book of Birth and Quest, Canto 4, The Quest, page 431. Away from this thinking creature's burdened hours, to free and griefless spaces now she turned, not yet perturbed by human joys and fears. Here was the childhood of primeval earth. Here her timeless musings, large and glad and still. Men had forborne as yet to fill with cares imperial acres of the eternal sower, and wind stirred grasslands winking in the sun, or mid green musing of woods and rough broad hills, in the grove's murmurous bee air humming wild, or past the long lapsing voice of silver floods, like a swift hope journeying among its dreams, hastened the chariot of the golden bride. Out of the world's immense unhuman past, track memories and ageless remnants came, domains of life enfold to an antique calm. Listen to the unaccustomed sound of hoofs and large immune entangled silences absorbed her into emerald secrecy and slow hushed wizard nets of fairy bloom, environed with their colored snare her wheels. The strong, importunate feet of time fell soft along these lonely ways, his tightened pace forgotten, and his stark and ruinous frowns. The inner ear that listens to solitude, leaning self-wrapped unboundedly, could hear the rhythm of the intenser, wordless thought that gathers in the silence behind life, and the low, sweet, inarticulate voice of earth in the great passion of her sun-kissed trance, ascended with its yearning undertone. Words of our Divine Mother, taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, question and answers of 1954, date 29th September 1954, page 342. Question, sweet mother, how can we find the divine who's hidden in us? For this, our Divine Mother says the first thing is to want it and know precisely that this comes first before all other things, that this is the important thing. That is the first condition. All the rest may come later. This is the essential condition. If once in a while, from time to time, when you have nothing to do and all goes well, you are unoccupied, suddenly you tell yourself, I would like so much to find the divine. Well, it may take 100,000 years in this way, but it is the important thing, the only thing that matters. And if everything else comes afterwards and you want nothing else but this, then this is the first condition. You must first establish this. Later, we may speak of what follows, but first this, that all the rest does not count, that only this counts, that one is ready to give up everything to have this. That is the only thing of importance in life. Then one puts oneself in the condition of being able to take a step forward, says our Divine Mother. Question, sweet mother, one day you said if one makes mistakes, knowing that one is making a mistake, one pushes the divine grace away and builds a wall, a veritable wall between the divine and oneself. For this, our Divine Mother says, but there is one thing. If you make a mistake, knowing that this is a mistake and committing it all the same, then you do that. If through ignorance you make a mistake because you do not know that it is a mistake, you may have very unpleasant consequences, but you won't push away the divine because you have done the thing through ignorance. That's not to say that the fault is not a fault. It is a fault all the same. But as I said, you are not in the state in which you push away the divine grace. But if you know that it is a fault and you commit it all the same each time you do so, you are pushing the divine grace and you push it away a little farther, says our Divine Mother. For this, the child says, sweet mother, there are mistakes one makes or one knows they are mistakes, but still it is as though one were pushed into making them. Then, for this, our Divine Mother says, push by what? This is exactly what happens. It is the lower nature, the instincts of the subconscious which govern you and make you do things you should not do. And so it is a choice between your will and accepting submission. Our Divine Mother says there is always a moment when one can decide. It goes to the point where, as I said, there is even a moment when one can decide to be ill or not to be ill. It even goes so far that a moment comes when one can decide to die or not to die. But for that, one must have an extremely awakened consciousness, because this speck is infinitesimal in time and like the 100th part of a second. And because before it one can do nothing, and after one can do nothing, at that moment one can. And if one is absolutely awake, one can at that moment take a decision. But for ordinary things, for example, giving away before an impulse or refusing, it is not a space, not even the space of a second. One has a plenty of time before him. One can certainly have several minutes, and it is a choice between weak submission and a controlling will. If the will is clear, if it is based on truth, if truth, it obeys the truth and it is clear, it has the power to refuse the wrong movement. It is an excuse you give yourself when you say, I could not, it is not true. It is that truly that you have not wanted it in the right way. For there is always the choice between saying yes and saying no. But one chooses to be weak and later gives oneself this excuse saying, it is not my fault, it was stronger than I. It is your fault if the thing was stronger than you, because you are not these impulses. You are a conscious soul and an intelligent will, and your duty is to see that this is what governs you and not the impulses from below, says our Divine Mother. Sweet Mother, why is it better to concentrate in the heart? For this, our Divine Mother says, it is easier. For some people, it is difficult. It depends on one's nature. But it is better because if you concentrate in the heart deeply enough, it is there that you enter into contact with the psychic for the first time. While if you concentrate in the head, you have to pass later from the head to the heart to be able to identify yourself with the psychic being. And if you concentrate by gathering the energies, it is better to gather them here because it is in the center, in the region of the being, that you will find the will to progress, the force of purification, and the most intense and effective aspiration. The aspiration that comes from the heart is much more effective than from the head. Question, sweet mother, what does psychic poise means? For this, our Divine Mother says, psychic poise means the poise of the being which comes from the fact that the psychic which governs the moments of the being is the master of all the moments of the consciousness. The psychic is always well poised. So, when it is active and governs the being, it inevitably brings a balance, says our Divine Mother. Question, can one have faith through aspiration? For this, our Divine Mother says, I think so, because it is rare to have it spontaneously, to be born with it. Very few people, says our Divine Mother, have this good luck to have a spontaneous faith, but if one is very sincere in one's aspiration, one gets it. Aspiration can bring everything provided it is sincere and constant. One always has a tiny element of faith within oneself, whether it be the faith in what one's parents have said or in books one has studied. After all your education is based upon a faith of this kind. Those who are educated have told you certain things. You had no means of checking because you're too young. But you have faith in what they told you and you go forward on that faith. So everyone has a tiny bit of faith and has to increase it. One can use one's aspiration, says our Divine Mother. Then why is it said that the psychic poise is necessary, says the child for this? Our Divine Mother says, yes, this means that the help of the psychic poise is necessary. It is not the psychic being has to be balanced. It is that one must be under the influence of the psychic poise. The psychic is always balanced, but it is the being that is not always under the influence of the psychic which brings the balance. The influence of the psychic gives the balance, says our Divine Mother. How can one know that the psychic being is in the front? For this, our Divine Mother says, my child, when it happens, one understands. It is exactly so long as one does not understand that it means it has not yet come. This is like people asking you, how can I know whether I am in contact with the divine? That itself is enough to prove that they are not in contact with the divine. For if they are, they can no longer ask the question. It is something understood. For the psychic, it is the same thing. When the psychic is in front, one knows it, and there is no possibility of any doubt. Consequently, one no longer asks this question, says our Divine Mother. Question: what are the conditions in which there is a descent of faith? For this, our Divine Mother says the most important condition is an almost childlike trust. The candid trust of a child who is so sure that it will come, who does not even ask himself about it. When he needs something, he is sure that it is going to come. Well, it is this kind of trust, this indeed is the most important condition. To aspire is indispensable, but some people aspire with such a conflict inside them between faith and absence of faith, trust and distrust, between the optimism which is sure of victory and a pessimism which asks itself when the catastrophe will come. Now, if this is in the being, you may aspire, but you don't get anything. And you say, I aspired, but I didn't get anything. It is because you demolish your aspiration all the time by the lack of your confidence. Our Divine Mother says, but if you truly have trust, children who left to themselves and not deformed by older people have such a great trust that all will be well. Well, when one aspires for the force, when one asks the divine for help, if one asks with the unshakable certitude that it will come, that it is impossible, that it won't work, then it is sure to come. It is this kind. This is truly an inner opening, this trustfulness. And some people are constantly in this state. When there is something to be received, they are always there to receive it. There are others, when there is something to have, a force descends, they are always absent. They are always closed at that moment, while those who have this childlike trust are always there at the right time. And it is strange, outwardly, there is no difference. They may have exactly the same goodwill, the same aspiration, the same wish to do good, but those who have the smiling confidence within them do not question, do not ask themselves whether they will have it or not. Whether they have it, whether the divine will answer or not. The question does not arise, it is something understood. What I need will be given to me. If I pray, I shall have an answer. If I am in difficulty and ask for help, the help will come. Not only it will come, it will manage everything. Our Divine Mother says, if the trust is there, spontaneous, candid, unquestioning, it works better than anything else and the results are marvelous. It is with the contradictions and doubts of the mind that one spoils everything, with this kind of notion which comes when one is in difficulties. Oh, it is impossible, I shall never manage, and it's going to be aggravated. If this is the condition I am in, which I do not want, is going to grow still worse if I am continuing to slide further down and further. It's like that, and one builds a wall between oneself and the force one wants to receive. A Divine Mother says the psychic being has this trust, has it wonderfully without a shadow, without an argument, without a contradiction. And when it is like that, there is not a prayer which does not get an answer, no aspiration which is not realized, says our Divine Mother. Prayers and Meditations, July 1st, 1914. We hail Thee, O Lord, with adoration and with joy, and give ourselves to Thee in a gift constantly renewed, so that Thy will may be accomplished upon earth and in all the places of this universe. When we turn towards thee, the thought is mute, but the heart exalts. For thou shinest resplendent in all things, and the least grain of sand may be an occasion for worship. We bow down before thee, we unite with thee, O Lord, in a love that is limitless and full of an inexpressible beatitude. Oh, grant this sovereign joy to all.